Goobers, it's your favorite goober here to mention a few things to you today. So, I have three things to mention to you. Earlier today, I did something. I was like, oh, I'm going to make a video about it later. And then right before I started my yapping, which has been going on for a while now, I had two of the things come up. So, I've got three things to talk to you about. Thing number one, very, very simple, right? Is that I was writing a song. Now, I don't know if it matters or not, but I've never been in like a serious relationship or anything like that. Like ever. So maybe writing songs about relationships is not something for me, but I don't see why I couldn't at least try to write about it even if I have no experience. Maybe I'm just talking crazy. Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. But the song is about a guy who, he's kind of sad. He's like, oh, I miss the nights where you were laying on my shoulder. I miss, hearing your heartbeat. I miss listening to your stories and learning all about you. That kind of vibe, right? And he's kind of going on and he's sad in a low mood. And as the song goes on, you know, as a listener, you might be thinking, oh, he's sad, he's mourning the loss of a relationship, he's, trying to cope with that and get his feelings out. But at the very end, I want a plot twist where it reveals that he's actually mourning the loss of his partner's life. I thought that'd be an interesting reveal. Original or not, I thought it would be a cool song. I thought that it would be something that was interesting to listen to, you know? Because then it's like, I want to write a song where you listen to it the first time, there's the plot twist, and then you listen to it a second time, and the lyrics are recontextualized. And I don't know how difficult that is, but that's just my idea. I just kind of randomly came up with it. So I thought that was neat. I thought that was cool. The second thing I wanted to mention was that there are, if I'm understanding correctly, I hope I clicked on all the right links. I believe I did. There is an opening for applications to apply. That's huge news for me. I didn't know when that was next going to be available, so the fact that it is available is huge. And I can't wait to apply. I want to do that tomorrow. All right? I really am. Here's the thing, I know that there's a referral program, and I'm going to ask to see if my aunt can take advantage of that because it's a two-way win street, right? I win because I might have an easier time, maybe skipping the line of applicants and kind of being there due to the referral program. And it gets a win for my aunt because I think she gets a little pay bonus for getting somebody in, right? I know for Wendy's, that's how I got my job. I got referred in. Um, I think I still overall got in just by myself, but I also was under a referral by somebody who recommended me, and I think they got their bonus, which was cool. And then for me personally, I I'm looking to kind of have a similar situation for this. Now, getting into this job is going to be very difficult. There's a lot that goes into getting in, and then you go through an academy. If you pass the academy, you then start your training. So, and I think academy is paid, and I believe training is obviously it's paid training. So there's that. It's going to be tough though if I make it through the academy and go into the training. You have to go over the course of a few weeks. You do every single schedule. So while I'm aiming to become a graveyard shifter, um, you know, I'm still going to have to experience what it's like to work earliest morning shift. I think it's called swing shift for like the midday where it's not like early in the morning, but you're also not like too late at night. Not the worst shift, you know. I think early morning and swing are the most full, like nine times the easiest to get into, which is perfect for me. And yeah, seniority takes priority. So those who have more seniority have the ability to choose their schedule versus those who are brand new. They don't really get that freedom unless you're like me and you already want the one that's usually not taken up anyway. There's also a pay increase for working night shifts because not everybody wants to do that. So that's nice. At my Wendy's, it's a 40-cent raise. Lame as fuck for how much more work you have to do at night. Pretty lame. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to suffer. And I almost lost my job because of it. Because I suck at going to bed and then waking up. It's horrible. It's a horrible combination. So this graveyard shift is going to be nice. It really is. First thing I'm going to invest in is some blackout blinds. So I can make it dark in my room. That's what I want. That's what I want to do. But, yeah. That's that. Like I said, I'm going to talk to my aunt about the referral program, see how that's going to work, see if that works too, because they might not, and then go from there. So, let's see, I talked about the song, talked about the application openings. Alright, that's right. This is for my manga, so some spoilers ahead. If you do not wish to be spoiled, um, look away, go away. This is where, if you decide that you actually want to keep the secrets for yourself, thank you for being interested in my manga, and I will happily let you go here shortly after I say my goodbyes. Like I said, thank you for your interest, and I hope you have a good night. All right, bye bye. I'm gonna give you a countdown on three, and then I'm gonna say go. If you don't leave by then, be prepared for spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right, I gave you ample time and ample warning. So, in my story, I have four primordial elements. I have earth, air, wind. Oh my god, I did that. There's one attempt and I did the same mistake. It's earth, air, water, and fire. Right? Classic. Classic four. Every element is going to have a subtype. I have two currently developed. Water subtype is just ice, right? If you're born with the ice subtype, then you're naturally more adept at using ice, right? Any water person can learn to use ice. It's not an exclusive. But those who are born with the ice element are most commonly from the royal family for reasons. I'll give you the context. Four deities, right? All four of the elements have one deity related to them, the concept of father, son, mother nature. The wind to me has always been kind of genderless, so I said, fuck it. Non binary God. I thought that was cool. So, they exist. And then you have, for me, right, I think the moon is beautiful. And beautiful is more feminine. And I made her a goddess. I was like, we're going to make her a girl. I think that'd be cool. Um, After a certain event, I'm not concrete on that event yet, but after a certain event, four major families get blessed, right? Or four major warriors get blessed, and all these warriors have a gene, right? So they get a mutation in their genes blessed to them by the gods, and it's very work in progress. It's a lame as fuck name. I call it the God gene in my little notes app, right? They had a mutation called the God gene, and they were given that mutation from the gods. So, for instance, right, um, for only the water element, if you are born with that gene, right, you are way more likely to have the ice element. Because technically, the moon goddess, she deals a lot in ice. It's a very prominent part of her fighting style. So the gene naturally is more inclined to the ice element versus like, the earth goddess doesn't matter. Sometimes she blesses, you know, somebody with earth, or sometimes she blesses somebody with plants and all that stuff, right? Um, Air, right now, that is my least developed element. I have a lot of work to do for air. Fire, I'm pretty confident with what I want to do. I have some fun power ups planned, but I don't know what I want to do for the subtype. I have a lot of research to do on fire, so I'll have to get back to you on that. Uh, but even if I am lazy and take complete inspiration from Avatar: The Last Airbender, I don't like combustion bending, and I don't like lightning bending. I don't think it makes sense for fire to lightning bend, but that moves me on to my next point. Electricity is its own element, and gravity is its own element, and that's the big spoiler. So I think there's a third element idea that I had, but I have to remember it. I don't currently remember it, so I'm sorry. But the concept is, water has always been integral. Humans need it to live. Without drinking it, we die. Fire has been integral. Harnessing the element of fire was a boon to humanity's success. It it did so much for us, right? The earth around us, we live, we walk, we exist on earth. And the earth around us has been an integral part of our lives. And the air has been an integral part of our lives. Without breathing it, we'd be dead, all right? And so, all four of those things come together and are integral pieces to humanity. And that birthed the four elemental gods, the primordial elements, the primordial gods. Well, as humans evolved, forces have always been there, but we've come around to taking advantage of them, learning about them, and harnessing them. So down the line, the future, we have electricity and gravity, right? And those two are going to be my um, young, newborn kind of elements. And those elements are less mature. They are not fully developed. And for that reason, I was very confident in saying there is no alternative subtypes. But after learning about what magnetism is, I was like, that's too cool. I can't not have a sub-element for that. And originally, I had the misconception that magnetism and gravity were correlated, and research does not support that because magnetism is actually related to electricity. And I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. And so I was like, well, if that is that, then that's a perfect subtype for electricity is control of like magnetic fields. There's some cool things you can do with magnetism for sure, right? And so I'm definitely gonna have fun exploring powers around magnetism, and I'm certainly gonna have a lot of fun exploring a individual with magnetism as their power while also being a part of the steampunkers. I think that'd be interesting to see how magnetism intersects with steampunk. I just that's a random idea I just had. I'd love to see that. So, if you didn't know, there's going to be like a steampunk society. It's a medieval world, but steampunk is going to be like the quote unquote future technology, advanced tech, but it's just steampunk. Because I love the idea of that. I don't want like super advanced technology. I don't want like computers or anything like that. But, steampunk? Dude, I think that'd be dope. So that's what I'm gonna do. But yeah. And then I was like, okay, so electricity has the subtype of magnetism. All right, that works out perfectly. And that got me thinking, what the hell would gravity's subtype be? I don't know. And so I did some For me, I'd call it light research. It's not that much. It took less than like 15 minutes. But I went to the Wikipedia on gravity and was reading around, and there's a lot of stuff to learn. And eventually, you come around to different theories because Einstein's theory of relativity breaks down at certain, um, what's it called? Uh, Scales is the word I'm looking for. At certain scales, the theory of relativity does break down, and Einstein was integral to understanding gravity, and it has helped explain a lot of things. But when you get to certain levels and certain scales and certain things within gravity, relativity, the theory of it, does not explain it. It has no explanation. So there's been quite a few proposed theories about gravity and what it is, or how it works, and you'll have things like quantum gravity, and you'll have there's a couple others that I'm forgetting, but you'll have stuff like that. And I came across this concept for string theory. I think it's the concept for strand in Destiny 2, that subclass. I'm almost certain that's where Bungie got strand from. The strings of reality. Yeah, I'm certain strand is string theory. But as a concept for a potential sub-element of gravity, exploring the idea of string theory and controlling those strings might be interesting. Now, I think gravity is almost too powerful, and I was considering making this the rarest element ever, right? Most elements, earth, air, fire, and water, if you were to have a baby with with like a different element, it's always a 50-50 chance. And I think electricity is going to be the same thing. You're going to add that to the list. 50-50 chance. I think to nerf gravity in its own way, I'm going to make it a recessive gene. So it's going to be like, well, it's not going to be dominant, right? It's not going to be dominant enough that it's 50-50. It's recessive. So it's less likely to be chosen, like way less likely. And so that way I put less gravity out there, which means the string theory element would be like super duper rare. Because, I mean, keep in mind, like these sub elements are not common. You're not going to see a whole bunch of plant element versus earth element. You're going to see a lot of like earth, rocky, like mineral elements, and a small subsect of plant elements. Like it's a rare thing to have the subtype. Like it's not common for water to have the ice subtype unless you're the royal family, which is the only exception. But overall, it's still rare outside the royal family. Those who don't have the gene, it's still rare to be an ice type. And the same will be said for the fire type and the air type when I eventually come around to deciding what I want to do for them. Um, the only problem is that with gravity, I'm okay with. I can definitely work with gravity. It has some interesting concepts, some interesting powers that I can work around. But once I start breaking into like string theory, I start to really feel like we're losing ourselves in the sauce. We're a little lost in the sauce, in my eyes. I think string theory is too. It's real science. It's a proposed idea in actual human world science, but like that as an elemental, it's really hard to rationalize. So I don't think I want to. But it's just an idea for now. Trying to find a subtype for gravity. Maybe it doesn't need to have a subtype. I know that I'm already nerfing it by making it a recessive element, so you're way less likely to see it. But maybe I'll also make it the only element that is mono, If you're gravity, there is no alternate thing. You're just gravity. Because string theory is a little too mystical. Quantum gravity is, I don't really think it has enough unique substance beyond just gravity. So, you know, I think it's an interesting concept, something that I can toy with. But I don't know. I really don't. I have yet to come to a conclusion. It was some basic research. It's a fresh idea, so obviously nothing is concrete, but magnetism for the electricity is 100% happening. I will be doing a magnetism subtype. I think that's really cool. I cannot wait for that. But these two elements, electricity and gravity, are not to be revealed for a while. I want to first establish the world and then introduce these newborn elements. And in a world where steampunk is the highest level of technology, electricity makes no sense for the ideas that I had, right? In our modern day society, electricity is an integral part of our daily lives. But, you know, electricity, while existing back then, to a lesser extent, right, it's going to be hard to capture the medieval and also do electricity. But it only really falls apart under the notion that all the elements are birthed because of humans harnessing these things, these forces. But magnetic fields have always existed. Birds have been migrating for, I want to say, longer than humans have existed. Although I could be wrong. I'm not confident with that, and I'm too lazy to look it up. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I would imagine birds have been migrating since beyond human nature, right? And from what I understand, birds see Earth's magnetic field, and that's what guides them. And if a magnetic field has been around all this time, and magnetism is related to electricity, then electricity's been around this whole time. Even if we didn't, harness it back in the medieval days. And gravity, well, it's the reason why we're not floating on this space rock. Centrifugal forces, yada yada, blah blah blah, math and physics. But you get the idea, right? Gravity. It's always been there from the very start, just like magnetism and electricity have always been there from the start. Just understanding of it and harnessing of it hasn't existed within humans for a long. It took a while to quote unquote discover it. Well, not quote unquote. It took a while to discover what it is and to harness it, whether that was gravity or electricity. It took us a while to get there. It took us a while to understand it, and it's taking us even longer to fully comprehend it. I mean, like I said, we're still learning about gravity. So, we're going to be learning about it for a long time, I would imagine. I think that's everything, though. You know, before I accidentally yap for too long, I know this has been a little while, but before it goes on for way too long, I'm going to cut it there. Um, Thank you all for listening to me yap. I come up with a lot of things on the spot, and I try to rationalize and give a lot of context to the thoughts that I have, and it ends up turning into a long yap session. And sometimes I'm too lazy to wait for these things to edit, and other times I don't mind waiting. I think I'm gonna give you guys the honor of not editing this down. I had a previous attempt, but I was muted, and then I was like, okay, well I'm gonna try to make it fast, and here I am. So I'm passionate. I think I'm more passionate than I realized about being creative, and that's really cool. That's kind of special. So that's everything. I have my nightly routine to get to. So, yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Good night and good luck, goobers. Have a good night.
You just said that.
I know, but I mean it. Peace out.